Welcome back to the 14-day yin reset. This is day number 5, and we're going to be working into the spine today gradually with some back bends, getting into the quads, the hip flexors, and the whole front of the body. We're going to make liberal use of our yoga blocks today. So if you don't have them, you can still hang with this practice by gathering around some firm cushions. The cushions on the back of your sofa often make a good choice for that, or stacks of books that you can put at various heights. Our yoga blocks, we have 3 heights that we work with. The 4-inch height here, the 6-inch height is the middle, and the highest height we don't use as much, but that's an 8-inch height. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin in Golden Gate pose. Lying down on the back and reaching for a block to put under your hips at the middle height. So lifting up the hips, slide the block under and extend the legs forward. And some people like to do 2 blocks on top of each other at the low height. You can play around with the heights. The sensations might be in the front of the hips and thighs, the lower back, the sacrum, wherever you're feeling it. Let's take a deep breath into this part of the body. And as you exhale, soften. See if you can relax your legs a little more, relax your glutes. Even if your toes and feet fall out to the sides, just finding this softness. Slowly exiting the pose, start by bending the knees, place the feet flat on the ground, lift your hips to slide your block out, and rest on your back, taking Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees wide, hands resting on the body, one hand on the heart, one hand on the low belly, and just take a minute here, feeling the rebound, feeling the energy around the hip flexors, belly, lower back. And now, bringing the knees back together, place your feet as wide as your mat, spread your arms out and drop your knees to the right, and then drop them to the left, side to side, 2 or 3 times. Windshield wipers. Now let's roll all the way onto one side and come up to hands and knees, having your blocks, near the top of your mat. And here we will come into dragon pose, right leg forward. And the blocks are optional here to use under your hands on either side of your foot. Any height that you like, low height, medium height, or even the high height. Some people like to do their dragon quite a bit more upright, which will maybe give more back bend sensation. If your hands are just on the floor, if you're not working with blocks today, that is just fine. And now taking it into a dragon twist by walking the right foot out to the right side, hand on the knee, and turning your chest. You can reposition your block as needed, or you can use it without a block, of course, still. And we can bend the back knee if this works for your body, to hold on to that back foot and take it into this dragon holds its tail pose. And if the foot and hand connection isn't happening, then stay here in the twist, letting the right hand relax behind the back. And releasing, and now coming into a runner stretch. Hands can be on the blocks if you have them. Just put them on the floor if you don't have blocks. And we're going to bend forward over this front leg, stretching now into the hamstrings. You can choose if your hands are right under your shoulders or if you're extending your arms forward a bit. Breathing into the stretch in the back of the leg, lower back. And slowly releasing, bend into the front knee again, step back to downward dog, and hey, we have these blocks here that can be a very nice little lift under the hands. I usually turn my blocks to the lowest height for this purpose, just because it's more stable, and walk the legs. And let's take it over to the second side. Left leg to the front. Blocks on either side of the foot. And as you breathe into this, just notice all the different ways there are to do dragon. For our day 4 practice before this, remember we were tilting and just letting the hips go all kinds of askew, and today we're really more like squaring the hips with this help of the blocks under the hands. And it's all just variations of the same pose. None of them are the right way to do dragon. They're just all these wonderful ways to explore it. And we're going to come now into our twist, walking the left foot farther out to the left, plenty of space between the front hand and front foot. Twist to the side, left hand behind the back or reaching back to hold the foot. If you're on a wood floor or a hard floor of any kind, then you very well might want cushioning under your back knee for this pose and really for any dragon variations. If you're in that dragon's tail pose, you can think about the back bend, rolling the left shoulder back and bringing the head back in space, really opening the front of the body, front of the right thigh, front of the right hip, and the belly. And slowly releasing, taking it into the half split, hands optionally on the blocks as you straighten the front leg. Positioning the arms in a place that feels good, with the primary idea of stretching the hamstrings of your left leg. And breathing into what you feel. And releasing, once again, downward dog with the option to use your blocks at the low height under your hands. And now let's drop the knees, come down into child's pose, and your hands could stay on those blocks if you so desire, hands or forearms or elbows. 1 minute to rest here. Coming up now, and come to sit with your blocks coming to one end of your mat for supported fish. So the height of these blocks is different for everyone. It's different for me on different days even, but I'm gonna start here. This is kind of a common way to begin. The middle height for the one that's gonna go under your torso, this one's gonna go under your head, and that's at the high height. And as we come back, we wanna match these blocks up. First block with the back of the heart, right behind your heart, and the other one right at the base of the skull. And I've got my legs out in this butterfly shape, which feels good, but you could also just have them straight ahead if you like. Opening your arms out to whatever angle feels good. The primary focus here is to open the heart, to open the front of the chest. If it's too intense, you can take the block that's under your back down a notch. And if you want more intensity, you can take the block that's under your head down a notch or two. I'm going to take mine down 1 notch. If you're a beginner, just keep in mind the biggest mistake I see beginners do here is that they have one of these blocks in their lower back, and we don't want anything in the lower back. You want to be able to feel your whole lower spine right now without a block being in the way. This is about opening up the chest. And once you're there, once you're in your pose, take a breath in. And breathing out, softening the chest and the ribs and even the shoulders, the throat. This part of the torso that we're opening into is called the thoracic spine, and the ribs, they're all connected, and it's a very tight part of the body because the bones are protecting our vital organs, the whole rib cage and thoracic spine. And so we can tend to get quite tight here. Let's reach the arms over the head. Get a little bit of extra weight in this for a moment. As you inhale, you can interlace your fingers, press the palms away. And exhaling, release the arms. Slowly lift yourself up and come to a seated position for butterfly. And we'll do some variations of butterfly today, taking it into the right leg being straight out and left leg bent is our first variation. So 3 different ways to stretch the hamstrings today, starting with this one, the simple stretch of moving toward the leg. Hands can be on either side, or you can angle slightly to the inside of the leg. Cushion under the seat if you'd like it. Blocks supporting the forehead if you like. And coming up and into half frog, which is turning this left foot the other way. And this is still a hamstring stretch. And as we come forward, if you find that this position of the leg is just really not working for you or not comfortable, then you could stay with the first variation, or you could play around with props and see if that makes it any more doable. A cushion under your seat as one option, and then blocks under your hands as another option. One minute here. This variation really gets more directly into the hamstrings on the right leg if your left leg does this, but not everyone's left leg does this. It's just if it's not in your range of motion, there's really not much you can do about it, and it's okay. Taking a breath in to your back, to the back of your leg, and exhale. And slowly coming up. And now taking it into the last of our 3 variations, which is this foot, left foot comes over into half shoelace. So we're on the same side. I'm just turning my body so you can see the variation a little better. And 1 minute here. And this is a very different way of getting into the hamstrings. You might feel it more in your spine and sacrum as well. And you are likely to not come down as far in this variation. I certainly don't. And slowly coming up, taking it to that trio of variations on the second side. Right foot to the inner upper thigh, left leg extended and coming down. The trio of wonder. And coming up, taking the second variation, half frog. Modifying, or if it doesn't work for you at all to do this, just do the half butterfly variation that we started with. Breathing wherever you are, inhaling and exhaling. Coming up, and third variation, crossing right foot over to the outside of the left thigh and coming down. So your cushion again could be helpful here. Not everyone's knees are going to stack right on top of each other here, and that's fine if your knee is in the air. Don't worry about it, as long as you're able to come forward and put enough support under your seat so that you don't feel stuck. And slowly coming up and shifting to child's pose to have a rest here. Feeling the legs, the hamstrings. breathing into the body. Exhaling, softening. And releasing. Come all the way forward onto your belly. Have your blocks handy if you're using them for Sphinx. I'm going to use the blocks under the forearms. So if you're not working with blocks, a firm cushion can be under your forearms, or you could just be directly on the floor. Elbows and forearms come on the blocks if you're using them. And then the hands end up sort of dangling, or you can clasp the hands, or maybe have the blocks more under the forearms. So see what's comfortable for you. And then see what's comfortable for your legs. Do they want to be narrower? Do they want to be wider? What gives your sacrum the nice feeling of being alive? One of the best things I've ever learned as a yin yoga teacher is to not try to guide the experience too much, and instead to trust in the stillness and the gentleness and the power of these sort of subtle stimulations that we create. And the mind and the heart have this natural tendency to want to rewire themselves, heal themselves. And all we need is a little bit of space, sometimes a little bit of permission. Sometimes we just need someone to set the timer and say, this is your time for yourself. And the healing happens. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing into your ability to trust this body. Even in a back bend, back bends can sometimes bring up some tension or fear. Let's take another breath into it. And exhaling, and very slowly coming down onto stacked hands, putting your blocks aside, forehead resting on top of stacked hands. Breathing here. Feeling your back. And slowly coming up. Come to sit with your legs in front. We're going to keep the right foot next to the hip and extend the left leg forward onto the mat. Now, as we come back into half saddle pose, you have options here. Sitting up on a cushion, is one thing. Sitting up on a block to be even higher can help. And you can come back to this position, or if it's comfortable to come back farther, rest your elbows down. Consider resting your elbows back on a bolster or blocks if that works better for you. The stretch is the front of the right thigh and the front of the right hip. You might be comfortable coming all the way back. If your knee tells you that you're not in a safe place, then listen to your knee, please, and come up to a more mild variation. If none of these is working for you, then you can try getting into it this way. Both knees to one side, to the left, like a upright windshield wipers. Wherever you are, feeling the front of the thigh, front of the hip. And can you feel how this area of the body we've been opening into is kind of intricately connected to the back? In order to have a flexible spine, we've got to keep this front of the hip area flexible. And deep in the hip here, being stretched now, is the almighty psoas muscle, which connects over the front of the hip and then through the torso to the back of to the lumbar spine, and all the way around the back of the right leg and thigh. And let's slowly come up out of the pose on this side and change sides. Right leg forward, left leg bent. So if you're going to lie back on blocks, you can use the blocks in the same exact ways that we did for the supported fish earlier. One under the heart, one under the head. Finding your pose, making any final adjustments, and breathing in, breathing out. Slowly releasing, making your way up and making your way to the wall, because that is where we're going to finish this wonderful practice in legs up the wall pose. So if you don't have a carpet under you, you can turn your mat or put a blanket under your hips, and then at your wall space, you can sidle up to it and Get your sitting bones in contact and then swing the legs up. If it's not convenient for you to do this because you don't have a wall space that's clear, then consider a sofa, the edge of a sofa or the edge of a bed instead. Maybe your knees bend and your feet fall onto it, and that's totally fine. It might feel really good, in fact. And here we have 2 minutes. And after all of the back bending emphasis in this practice, with little bits of forward bending sprinkled in to balance things out, now we can just kind of soften the front of the body, let the back of the body get a little bit of relief, a little bit of space. Take a breath into the whole back of your body. Torso, legs. Exhale. Let yourself sink into the support of the ground, support of the wall. Taking a deeper breath into the belly and into the heart. And exhale, reach the arms up, interlace the fingers, press the palms away, bend the knees, and let's roll over onto one side, coming up into a comfortable seat. And that's today's practice. If you feel inclined to linger in these energies a bit, you could sit for a while, breathing and feeling your spine. I will leave you to the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.